This is letter G. When G has a bar line on it, the sound is J, J, J. And the animal name is gerbil, gerbil, gerbil.
The giant gerbil would not show. He waited for a piece of fudge. A gerbil is a furry, mouse-like animal that jumps around like a tiny kangaroo. A gerbil will only grow from 4 to 5 inches or 10 to 12 centimeters long. A gerbil has sandy-colored fur, long hind legs, and a tuft of hair at the end of the tail. Many people keep gerbils as pets. Some gerbils live in wild Africa and Asia. They live together in long tunnels.
George Gerbil was a giant gerbil. Among all the other gerbils, you would always see George Gerbil. His head stuck up above all the others when the gerbils lined up to play a game. Though George was a rather gigantic gerbil, he had a very nice disposition. In fact, George Gerbil was such a quiet and patient gerbil that everyone said to him, "Come on, George, stand up for yourself. Don't be so patient." Still, George Gerbil was patient. He knew it was right. One day, a huge fudge truck came to town. It seemed to have enough fudge for everybody in a whole state. You have never seen so much fudge in your life. There was carob fudge, white fudge, caramel fudge, and peanut butter fudge. All the little gerbils gathered around until you could hardly see the fudge truck because of the little gerbils. A man with jolly red cheeks and shiny blue eyes jumped out of the fudge truck. "Come on, little gerbils, you will have to budge a bit, or I will never be able to get the door of the fudge truck open." "I want to buy some fudge," said one little gerbil. "Of course you do," said the fudge man. "You shall have some fudge too, but first you will have to wait until the fudge judge has tasted all the fudge, and then I will sell the fudge." About that time, a wrinkled, cross-looking aged man in a blue suit came out of his little brown house. "There's the fudge judge now," said the man. "Let's see what he thinks about our fudge." All the little gerbils gathered closer. All but George Gerbil, that is. He stood back politely and let everyone else get in front of him. "Come on, Gerbil," his friends cried out. "You won't get any fudge if you just stand there. Come on." George Gerbil would not move, would not show, and would not budge. George just stood there patiently, as he always did. Then the fudge truck man said to the fudge judge, "First, I want you to try our beautiful carob fudge." He cut off a nice chunk and handed it to the fudge judge. All the little gerbils' mouths began to water. What delicious-looking fudge! The fudge judge made an unpleasant face as he tasted the carob fudge.
That fudge is, I'd rather say it is medium soft. I never did care much for carob fudge.
The little gerbils couldn't believe it. How could anyone taste such delicious-looking fudge and make such a face? The gerbils pressed closer, smelling the good smells of the carob fudge. "Now, sir, here is some of our famous peanut butter fudge," said the fudge truck man to the fudge judge. The wrinkled little aged man opened his mouth and popped in the delicious-smelling square of peanut butter fudge. Oh, it smelled luscious. Every little gerbil, except George Gerbil, that is, pressed closer to sniff the aroma of the peanut butter fudge.
That fudge is just too sweet,
said the fudge judge. "Now try our wonderful white fudge," said the fudge truck man. Again, the wrinkled man made a face and tasted the fudge.
"Now that fudge,"
he said, thinking seriously.
"It's too hard."
By this time, the fudge man could hardly reach in his truck to get the caramel fudge because the little gerbils were shoving so close. All but George Gerbil, that is. George still stood politely behind the other gerbils, even though his whiskers were jiggling because of the delicious fudge smells.
"Caramel fudge?"
asked the fudge judge.
"I never could stand it personally, but,"
he continued, putting a large piece in his mouth,
"I will judge it."
All the gerbil eyes watched as the fudge judge tasted the fudge, and frowned most furiously.
"That caramel fudge,"
said the fudge judge.
"will not do at all. It is much too sticky."
All the little gerbils looked at each other. How could all the fudge be either too soft, too sweet, too hard, or too sticky? The fudge judge was a strange fudge judge. Oh, how the gerbils would like to be fudge judges.
"Let us help."
All the gerbils cried.
"Yes, we'll help. We'll taste the fudge. Give us some of the fudge."
The little gerbils, almost overcome with hunger and desire for the beautiful fudge, were, I'm sorry to say, quite rude, stepping on each other, pushing, shoving, reaching and falling, just to buy a piece of fudge. Well, it was really disgraceful. The fudge man said, "You may just have one piece each. Here's a fudge for you, and a piece of fudge for you, a nice piece of carob fudge for you, and peanut butter fudge for you." Each gerbil got just one piece of fudge. What about George Gerbil? How could anyone be so patient? Would George miss the fudge because he stood back politely? The fudge man looked at George Gerbil. "And for you, George Gerbil, a special reward. You are without a doubt the most patient gerbil I have ever seen. I am sure you like fudge, and I want to give you a piece of each kind of fudge." He reached in the truck. "Here's a large piece of carob fudge, a large piece of white fudge, a large piece of caramel fudge, and a large piece of peanut butter fudge. All for you." He handed the 4 large pieces of fudge to George Gerbil. Wasn't it a good idea to be patient as George Gerbil was, and not pushy? It certainly was. George Gerbil got 4 large pieces instead of just one small. What was even nicer was that when it was time for a new fudge judge to be chosen, guess who got the job? George Gerbil, that's who. He was one happy gerbil. If you think George Gerbil frowned and said,
"Too sweet, too soft, too sticky, too hard,"
then you're mistaken. Every time George tried a piece of fudge, his eyes lighted up. A happy smile came over his face and he said, "Oh, delicious. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, what a wonderful fudge." Yes, I believe that George Gerbil was the best fudge judge there has ever been. It all happened because George was patient and didn't complain. George Gerbil just stood quietly without budging until it was time for him to get a piece of fudge.
Let's read these words phonetically. J, A, J, J, A, J, J, A, Ja, A, J, Age, A, J, Edge, A, J, Aj, A, J, Age, S, A, J, Sage, R, A, J, Rage, J, Gem.